Once I'd seen Muay Thai, I was like, ooh, this is a different thing altogether. Getting better. And then just pushing yourself to the point that the vast majority of people just wouldn't do it.
I notice a lot of trials that try Muay Thai, they run to the bathroom and they throw up. And you either sign up on the spot right after or you never come back again.
I love Muay Thai, and it has humanity and humility, but you can't decide how hard to hit someone. With jiu-jitsu, you can be like, oh, I'm not going to hurt you, or you can literally murder them.
So you were actually a bouncer at the club?
I used Muay Thai and jiu-jitsu weekly on people. I trained consistently and dedicated for 20 years until I got my black belt. If you want to be generally happy and satisfied in life with martial arts, you can't do jiu-jitsu because it's one of the most...
Hey, welcome to another episode. Today I have a special episode. It's not just Kit and the Brit, it's Kit and two Brits. I'm Kit Yeung, your host, along with my co-host, Sean Hinds.
What's up?
And today we have Jamie Crowder in the house. Yay, Jamie. Awesome, Jamie. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Nice to be on here.
Tell the viewers a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a Sagittarius, Capricorn,
Yeah.
rising. No, I don't know anything about that stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I've been in America for 27 years. Came here in 98.
So, where are you from?
Oh.
In England?
So I'm a plastic scouser. I'm from just outside Liverpool. I'm from the Wirral. Born in Birkenhead town, just literally 2 seconds away from the city centre of Liverpool. So I'm a plastic scouser, as they call me.
All right.
Yeah.
And is that why we have these jerseys on? Because I don't know anything about soccer or football, but Sean bought me this jersey to wear for you today.
Yeah, it's basically just your stock's gone up in the world.
Oh, I thought it was a ping pong jersey. Yeah.
It's well, it's not far off.
Yeah.
It's definitely bullshit tennis.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, I'm very happy that you're both wearing those tops.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
So you came to America, and tell us why you came to America and how you were able to pursue the art of Muay Thai.
Yeah, I came over in 98. Like I said, I'd been traveling to Australia and a few other places, lived there for a year. And I came back to the UK and I was a little unstuck. I wasn't settled. And I went in the Royal Marines Reserve. So I was a reserve Marine there for about a year and a half, 2 years. And in that time I was training and doing stuff. I was I can't really fully articulate it, but I always had a want to come to New York City ever since I was a kid. I got relatives, distant relatives in New Jersey, and they would visit my family in Liverpool over the years. So it was always a background story for me to be coming to see my family and coming to visit and of course, just if you just say New York City, I mean, it is one of the most astonishing places I think you can come to. It's just
The most astonishing.
yeah, it's
in
just
my opinion.
Yeah, so it was always something that intrigued me, and I got an opportunity to come out here and work in a kids camp, in a summer camp in Connecticut. Originally, one of the people I'd met on the camp, he was an English guy, and he'd lived here for many years, and he had a place in Midtown. So I went to stay with him for a couple of months. I slept on his floor.
Oh, wow.
And he helped me initially with a lot of work that I first started coaching, but I was doing more personal training. He helped me with that a lot. And that's when I was first here in 98. As you got older, you start to hear about more things. You just get educated by other people. And Muay Thai was quite well feared and respected in Liverpool and Manchester way. People starting to get renowned. There's Master Todd and Master Sken and a few others making their names for themselves, and a lot of professional boxing as well, which was kind of engaged in a similar process, because you'd have Muay Thai guys go into boxing because they couldn't make money, or you'd have boxers having a dip in their toe in kickboxing or Muay Thai. So that was something that was on the peripheral for me in Liverpool, but I never really had a good chance to be exposed to it until I was in Thailand when I went to live in Australia, and I travelled through Thailand and I'd seen some of the fights, and that was when I really opened my eyes to it. It was when I become a lot more amenable to like, oh, definitely something I think I should look into advancing my skills with, because I'd boxed a little and I understood that, but once I'd seen Muay Thai I was like, ooh, this is a different thing altogether, particularly in Thailand.
Right.
So then when I'd come back to the UK, and then when I came to New York, I'd met somebody called Bobby Beckles.
Bobby Beckles.
Yeah, and he was the British and European Thai boxing champion for several years in the mid to late 90s, I think. And he'd also boxed pro, and he'd fought for a world title in Japan. He was a talented guy and very kind to me. You know, when he met me, I mentioned about Thai boxing. He told me he taught a class on 14th Street. There was a gym called Revolution, and this is like 27 years
Revolution.
ago. Yeah.
Sean, have you heard of that gym, Revolution?
I never. 13th and where?
It was like 6th Avenue and like 14th Street.
Mm.
It wasn't like a proper like Thai boxing gym. It was like a training gym where there was space, and then there was some other stuff. In fact, Lawrence Fishburne was in there, and he used to train there. I don't know why that just popped into my head, but he was there.
Fishburne.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was like a nice gym, and he taught a class or a few classes there. So I went and trained with him, and he was legit. And his, colleague, cousin, friend, whatever, I think they called themselves cousins. I don't know if they were traditionally cousins, but they were close. From the same gym, from the same position, was Phil Nurse.
Oh, nice.
And so then he told me about Phil, and he said he would introduce me to Phil. So that's when I went down to, it was called Kai Muay Noi Luk Sitnarong. I probably got that wrong, but
Where was that one?
that was at the time, it was probably 99. I would say that was on Broadway, and it was Dave Barton Gym.
Oh,
I think I remember
Dave
that.
Barton Gym.
Yeah.
Crunch was just on the other side of that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Right.
This is like, as I say, 26 years ago.
Yeah.
That was my first introduction to Phil and some of his teachers and students. And that then moved to Mercer Street. I think it was Gold's Gym or World. Sorry.
Yeah,
It was World Gym. It was like in the basement. And then it eventually transitioned into the Watt on Howard Street.
The what?
In 2003, that's when it opened.
Gotcha. So you trained with Phil Nurse in the Watt for a little bit?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It wasn't called the Watt, as I was saying, when I started. But then he opened the official school in 2003 on Howard Street. I remember the day before it opened. There was several weeks before, but because there was a lot of time prepping the place itself. Yeah. But I distinctly remember being in there with Phil, and we were fixing light fixtures, we were building it out and stuff with other people. But in this particular night, it was, I think, I can't be sure, but it might have been the next day or the next 2 days it was going to open officially. And he worked very hard on it. Right. And it was a beautiful space. And we just fixed whatever we'd fixed. And it was late at night, and it was in Chinatown. It was right down there on Canal Street. And it must have been 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And he was leaving, he was closing it up, and he said, "Do you want to get some food?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So it was just me and him. And we went to like McDonald's across the street. We sat, there was the only place open. And we sat there. It's just a moment that I always remembered. And we sat there and we were having burger or whatever and some fries, chatting. And most of the conversation with Phil was more structured. It was like about training, and like clearly he was the leader of everything. He was the person with the most experience, and everybody respected him. And so this was nice to have a slightly less formal approach to things. And he was like, "It's my birthday today." And I was like, "Oh, is it?" Yeah, I think he was 40 or something. And it always struck me as like how cavalier he was just about spending his birthday building out the Watt.
Right.
And like, it struck me as very meaningful that he would just not, maybe that's just the way he is, but like at the time and even now, it still struck me as like something that I have admiration for.
Yeah.
Like a person who put his heart and soul into something.
Yeah.
So that was 2003 you opened it up, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So then I met you 2000. 2004.
I think it was 4. Was that when I broke my arm in 2004? So I don't know if it was around then. I'm pretty sure,
Right.
because that's when you came to the war.
Yeah.
Luckily, it wasn't you that broke my arm.
So is that where you guys cross paths at the
That's
Y?
first time we crossed paths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as soon as you opened your mouth and you opened your mouth,
That
you
was
guys
it.
just
It
immediately
was-
became friends
that was
with
it.
the accent, huh?
It's like a match made in heaven.
Well, there was that, and then the shirt too. You know, so.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right. No, I always think it's fascinating that the pioneers that brought Muay Thai to New York City and just took a risk and opened up these gyms. Like it's amazing how you take something that you learn and you turn a business out of it. Like now we see how successful it's been. There must be over 100 gyms in New York City, but at that time, like nobody knew what Muay Thai was. Nobody really. They were invested in karate, taekwondo, boxing gyms.
Yeah.
I just think it was really brave and like, adventurous of them to just bring the sport and start a business out of it,
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
Yeah.
Pioneering, as you say.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because they never call it something where people would know that it was Muay Thai, like the Wat or like some long, like
Yeah.
even Chris Romelu came and he just walked by somewhere and he saw like a heavy bag hanging and that's what intrigued people. But nobody like called it either like combat or like martial arts. They always had like some kind of Thai name or some reference to, something Thai, which wasn't exactly as popular as Thai culture is nowadays, right?
Yeah, I would say so, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your fight career, your training, like your first few years actually experiencing Muay Thai in New York City.
Yeah, I mean, I was very fortunate. I had a lot of very good people around me, particularly the culture and the environment at the Wat. The thing it reminded me of, and one of the things that it appealed to me, was it reminded me of the Marines. That was the first time I feel like I truly experienced physical and like emotional professionalism. Like, because it's like, am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
All right, cool. If you fuck around, people are going to die.
Exactly.
So it's like, if you read the map wrong, that might be the last map you read. Or like, if you don't clear your weapon properly, bad things happen. So like that kind of discipline and that kind of enforcement of physical punishment, like put this backpack on and off you go. And then who's the fastest there, and the competitive nature of being in the Marines. And again, the professionalism of it. It was deeply entrenched in my experience there with them. And I was searching for that again. And with Phil, unquestionably, the physical nature of his teaching was very much in alignment with that culture for me. It was like, there's many, many names I could mention. It's like we had many people in there. Some people went on to be Navy SEALs. Others have gone on, well known now in the community, of Muay Thai and MMA. But particularly these early days for me was like, I just found this deep level of like commitment to getting better and then just pushing yourself to the point that the vast majority of people just wouldn't do it. So like his classes weren't that busy because they were not pleasant.
Yeah.
And also like don't get me wrong, he wasn't a mean person, but it was just very, very physically demanding. And like you had people who literally went on to become Navy SEALs running those classes. And it was brutal.
Yeah.
And that appealed to me. I feel like that level of fundamental basic training stood you in good stead then going forward. And then like that appealed to me.
But what I did find when I actually started going to the Wat, I think 2004, maybe 2005, was that I got the sense of that closeness. You know what I mean? Like when people train, like everyone got pushed. And I hadn't had that for a while because prior to going there, I was kind of floating around before that, and then before that, I was training with Edge, and then he moved to San Francisco. So for a period of time, I was kind of just floating around, trying this gym, trying that gym. But you could just walk in there and sometimes just see how the classes run, see how they spar, see how they move, and it's just sometimes you just look and you just know it's not your fit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And going in there, I watched him. They brought me into work out with them, train with them, spar with them. And certain things that I wasn't really good at like clinching and stuff like that. I was, that's where I actually really got better, right? You know, just from that whole everyone pushing everyone. You know.
For sure. I think to Jamie's point, my first class, I threw up in like the middle of class. I went, I puked in the locker room. And I noticed a lot of trials that try Muay Thai, they run to the bathroom and they throw up. And there's either two things. You either say, wow, I've never done anything like this that forced my body to throw up, whether you're lifting weights or just jogging. Like when you feel like you're about to throw up, you usually stop. But Muay Thai and martial, it makes you throw up and you either sign up on the spot right after or you never come back again. It's like, you know, like that's how intense. And I think people become addicted to that type of workout, right?
Yeah, I think it's part of the game. It depends, I suppose, on like what Sean was saying. Depends on the culture of the school, the nature of the intent of the school. You know, because Phil's was a fighting school,
right.
So that's what you got. But not every class was the same. There were harder classes and easier classes. It's just that I just leaned towards the hardest classes I could find, and then again that same professionalism from the students and the teachers there. They were very serious, and like Sean said, if once you got in there and people saw that you meant business,
right,
you were welcomed and given well more than you probably would have got most places in terms of attention and then in terms of camaraderie, you know.
Yeah. But I mean, you did all that Muay Thai, all that intensity and that kind of training, and then at the same time you started doing jiu-jitsu at the same time.
Yeah.
But not just going to any regular jiu-jitsu spot, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
At that time anyway, you know what I mean? That place, Renzo's then and now is like two completely different places when you look at it, you know?
Oh yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, sometimes I forget that it is very different.
Yeah. So after the WAD, it led, your jiu-jitsu journey led you to Renzo Gracie's in Manhattan?
Yeah, so I was working at a nightclub in 99, I think I started at 2000. And so I'd been doing Muay Thai, but I'm not exactly Captain Intimidation, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, you know, it's not like I'm not trying to exaggerate, it wasn't like a very violent club.
Okay.
It was actually a really nice club. There was always trouble at times in places, but I did have, you know, I could look after myself, but at the end of the day, you know, this is back in 99, 2000, it was a different city then, but like in terms of what you could get away with.
Yeah.
One of the appeals was, whilst I was there, you know, I knew Muay Thai had clinch skills and stuff like that, and it wasn't always necessary to employ those things, but when it was, you know, it does what it says on the box. You know what I'm saying? So if you open the box, people get fucked up.
Yeah.
So like, part of it was like, you could get in trouble because, you know, was that really necessary?
Exactly.
So it led me to being like, well, is there other stuff I could be doing? So my initial thought was wrestling and things of that nature. And I had a person I knew from a place I used to work at, and they were like, they went to Renzo's. So I ended up going with them, and it was on 37th Street, and it was above a methadone clinic. So like, this place in and of itself is just, there's so many stories and so many kind of legendary people who came out of this gym. So, this academy, I should say. So anyway, I started there.
Right.
And then after about 6 months, I used to go every Sunday. So I would work Friday and Saturday all night, throughout the night. Then on the Sunday, I used to work from 4 p.m. till midnight at the nightclub. And so when I would wake up, or I'd go to bed at like 8 a.m. on a Saturday, wake up like 2 hours later, because I lived in Queens then, and then go straight to this. It was called a valet judo, no holds barred class. And it was John Danaher and Sean Williams teaching the class. And so I did that for like 6 months, which I absolutely loved, because it was like all the stuff I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to fight on the floor. I didn't know what a single leg was. I didn't know what a body lock was. I didn't know what an underhook was. So it was extremely valuable, because it didn't take me long to realize, oh, this is like such a wonderful art. It's like the humanity of jiu-jitsu is not present in Muay Thai. So like, not in the same capacity. I love Muay Thai, and it has humanity and humility, but you can't decide how hard to hit someone. You know what I mean? So like, not really. Yeah. So like, but with jiu-jitsu, you can be like, oh, I'm not going to hurt you, or you can literally murder them. But it's more about control, strangulation, manipulation, pitting people. It's a lot kinder. Whereas if you're striking people, it's very difficult to control that and to know what's going to happen. I think it's essential to know both, but it's good to be, if you have an opportunity, it's good to be able to have a choice between what you're going to do.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so you were actually a bouncer at the club?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because when you see those bouncers, during those times, they're always just some big dudes that, for me, I figure a lot of them were like ex-convicts or felons who just got out of jail and just needed a gig. And they did not look like they were going to gently put you out of the club. They would normally just grab you by the throat, throw a couple of punches. And the rules were a lot lax back then, right?
Yeah.
Of what you can do to a patron.
Oh, yeah.
So did you actually have to use any of your Muay Thai or jiu-jitsu on some of these drunk patrons? Or you have any good wild club stories for us to tell?
I was there for nearly 4 years, and as I say, it was like 3 times a week. So there were a lot of incidents, particularly at the beginning.
Right.
Because it was me and like literally 20 black guys who weighed 250 pounds.
Right.
So who are they going to pick on? You know what I mean? They'll be like, who's this idiot? You know what I mean? Which is fair enough.
Like, I'm on the guest list. I'm on the guest list. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So initially there were more incidents, but as time went on, and it was a good club, like I said, and they had good patrons. So it wasn't like a typical, say, hip hop club where, I had some friends who worked those, and it was like people were getting fucking killed.
Yes.
So it wasn't like that. I don't want to misrepresent the situation, but it was still a club. So stuff happened, and yeah, I used Muay Thai and jiu-jitsu weekly on people.
Wow.
It just, usually didn't escalate to anything horrific. Our biggest problem was drugs.
Yes,
People
gotcha.
overdosing on drugs.
Yeah.
Or people like just, you're trying to take care of a situation.
Yeah.
And under normal circumstances, this, 4'10", 110 pound girl isn't going to be giving you that much trouble.
Yeah.
But because she's hallucinating or she's off her face on whatever drug she's taking,
Yeah.
you literally cannot hold this person down.
Wow.
You literally
that's
cannot.
true.
And they're hurting themselves, you know what I mean? Like, some girl threw herself into a mirror once. There's blood everywhere. I'm like trying to grab her wrist so she doesn't bleed to death.
That's true.
It's like,
That's wild.
it was messy, It
Yes.
wasn't just this thing where you beat people. It was like, you're genuinely trying to look after people.
Yes.
Because a lot of them just took too much drugs.
Yeah.
And also, if you're in a vulnerable position like that, you want to make sure that particularly the females aren't taken advantage of. So I would find a lot of girls just laid out or like in bad spots. And I would call, we had female staff. You'd call female staff to be with you. And then you would, escort them out of the club or to a place where they were safer until they were either revived from their nonsense or you could put them in a taxi or something. It's back in the day. So that happened a lot as well.
Yeah. I heard a John Danaher documentary or in an interview where he started off as also like a club bouncer.
Oh, yeah.
He was trying to get into, So I figured a lot of the guys from Renzo's, they all worked in the nightclub industry and things like that, right? There was a lot of them.
Yeah, there's a number.
Yeah, there were some big dudes in that place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's great. Like once they learn that art, they can restrain folks better instead of actually hurting patrons. And, like what we said back in the day, like just grabbing somebody and just throwing them out the door and just really hurting people.
Oh, yeah. There's plenty of people like that, in the game, in the nightlife game or in the bouncing game, where their goal is to execute whatever frustrations they're going through, take it out on everyone else.
Yeah.
It's like there's some nasty people in there.
Exactly.
But for the most part, I feel fortunate where I work with some really good people. In fact, I'm probably like just a couple of months ago, I kept in touch with a lot of those people, and I got everyone together after 20 years, and we all went for like a drink. So it's about 10 of us that are still around. Some of the guys have passed away, some guys have just disappeared.
Yeah.
But there was like 10 of us who showed up, and we all reminisced about the club days.
Oh man, I'm sure we can have another podcast episode just on the things that you've seen in the club
Oh
and
my
things
God,
like
that's
that.
ridiculous. I'm not sure I'm allowed to talk about much of it.
So being at Renzo's led you to kind of train in both Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu and put it together for MMA, or how did you get into mixed martial arts?
Yeah, I suppose in that regard, I as I say, I had excellent teachers, I had great peers, I had people working alongside me. For many years at Renzo's, the Muay Thai program was just exceptional, I felt. Professionally ran, and like dedicated staff like no other. People would just lie down in traffic for each other, you know, like, so that was a great foundation for me. It was a great experience. Fundamentals were there. Same with Danaher, John Danaher. He was like a fairly well kept secret, and like it was obvious to the people around. We were like, oh, this is a special individual. Like, this person isn't like a normal person in any capacity. So I was training with him. I did private lessons with him for the best part of a decade, and took his class regularly. I wasn't as dedicated with jiu-jitsu, as I was still competing a little bit in Muay Thai, and then also, you know, I had obligations to Muay Thai fights and stuff, so I wasn't like training jiu-jitsu consistently year after year after year after year. Sometimes it would be 6 months, it would be 3 months, but I was there every day.
Yeah.
But I didn't train it. I don't want to, again, create the wrong impression. I trained consistently and dedicated for 20 years until I got my black belt.
Gotcha.
But I didn't train every month, every week, every year.
Right.
There were patches, particularly in the beginning, because I had a different course in life.
Gotcha.
Then when I got to about 2008, 2009, I was a bit more serious. And then again, there's a few patches where work and other things were more of a priority. And I felt I couldn't give my all to Thai boxing if I was trying to do jiu-jitsu to a point where it was distracting me. Mm-hmm. So whilst I don't want to negate what I've done in terms of jiu-jitsu and training and stuff, I've trained a lot, but not like some guys who get their black belt in 6 years.
Yeah.
They train 5, 6, 7 times a week, sometimes twice a day. And those guys are like world-class jiu-jitsu players. My game was always like, I like jiu-jitsu, I want to be competent, but I don't necessarily care to be a teacher of it, or I don't care to be this world-class guru in jiu-jitsu. I was more interested in Muay Thai, and then I felt like a natural attraction to amalgamating those concepts of like mixed martial arts, where you could fight standing up, you could fight against the cage, you could fight on the ground. And that was a natural thing for me because I was involved with George St. Pierre, Matt Sara, and Chris Weidman's camps throughout the years. So that was something I witnessed and I was part of for many years. So I was able to take the aggregate and kind of combine it for myself to what it is now for the program that I run there. But it wasn't a particularly organized situation there as far as mixed martial arts was concerned. It was there for sure because we had the IFL, and that was a team-based mixed martial arts competition.
Yeah, but I didn't do too well there, did it?
No, it lasted a couple of years, I think, and that was it.
Yeah.
Although the concept was really cool.
Yeah, it was. I think it was an interesting concept because it was new, right?
Yes.
But I think they brought that concept back. Remember the boxing where they had the two teams.
Oh, really?
And I think there's something like that with the boxing nowadays that they brought that back.
Yeah, the IFL was interesting. You had Renzo Gracie's, or do you remember what their animal was?
I think it was the pit bulls.
Yes, Renzo Gracie pit bulls, and then they would have one representative from each weight class. Like I think it was 5 folks, right? Like lightweight all the way to heavyweight, and they'd fight another team from another state, like Pat Miletich, whatever. And then based on the 5 matches, if you won at least 3, then you beat the other team.
Yeah, it was like a team, like you said, like an accumulative team, a aggregate thing. Whoever won the most, Yeah,
I wonder why that didn't do well. I think that would be super interesting to watch nowadays, you know?
Yeah, but you as the individual fighter, you win your fight, but you end up on the losing team.
Yeah, that's true. But we should try that concept with Muay Thai. Specific schools against another school. Bring 5 folks. And, you know, like, I think that would be a cool concept.
They do it a little bit with MMA and the amateurs now. They'll do, like, Florida versus New York.
Well, they do that with the Muay Thai in Europe a little bit too, don't they?
Yeah. It's kind of interesting. I think the difficulty is it's already difficult to get fights. So then you have to have one for each weight class.
Yes.
You don't want those weight classes to fall through injury. So then you usually have to have a backup.
Yeah.
That's difficult. Especially that's 10 guys.
Yeah. And it's difference in experience level as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like Muay Thai is getting to that point now where you can actually really do kind of gauge the level good enough that they're all good fights, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, in Russia, there's like 10-on-10 fights and maybe like 3 women versus a guy, you know? Like,
it's crazy.
I think we're heading that way. What do you guys think?
No comment.
So you're currently coaching MMA at Renzo Gracie's?
Yeah, I have a program there that I'm fortunate enough to be in charge of. So I've been doing that, yeah.
Yeah. And do you have a lot of just some prospects that you are excited about? And have you been putting a lot of these fighters onto the local shows?
Yeah, so like, again, I feel like if we're doing ourselves justice, we're supposed to be evolving. So like, you know, you don't want to be, you could be content for a minute maybe, but you can't be satisfied. So I would say it's hard for me to remember because it's been a long time I've been doing it, but I probably was more serious about the MMA in about 2016 or 17. I was the head coach for Naaman Gracie.
Naaman Gracie, yeah.
And so he asked me to help him, and that was when at Renzo's it wasn't organised, the MMA wasn't organised. It's a bit Wild Westy. So like, you show up on a Thursday for sparring, and it'd be like 12 dudes you've never seen before.
Yeah.
So it's just, and everyone's, and some people are trying to knock each other out. So it's like back in the day, like a lot of it used to be. So it was like that a lot. So when Naaman asked me to help him, I was like, yeah, all right, well, let me see what I can put together. I started taking more of a leadership role in terms of like organising people to train, because I can't train Naaman on my own. So like, we could do some pad rounds, we do some drilling, we do some sparring. We was going to organise it all, and then he was going to come. So, over the years, I asked Renzo first. I asked his permission if I could take a certain times a week, so that I could use the room. And as long as it wasn't when it was busy, I was allowed to do that. So I found a time, and that was what we did. And we built up a group of lads, which eventually became pretty cool. I was like, Joao Zeferino, who fought for world titles, Naaman, who ended up fighting in the garden with me for a world title, Jake Shields came, and this was at the time when the Danaher Death Squad was coming up, so we had great jiu-jitsu training with those guys. Gary Tonin turned to MMA,
right.
So I was involved with his training, and of course with John, I was working with him on a daily basis usually. It was an interesting like cauldron of events that helped formulate whatever it is now.
Mm-hmm. For me, I remember, do you remember what year MMA got legalized in New York City?
That's a good question. I was thinking about that.
Was it like 2005 maybe?
When did Joe fight on that one in New Jersey?
I think that would have been around 2007 or 6. Must have been around then, or 5 even.
I think it's around that time. Because that might have been the first show that they showed, but it was in New Jersey.
Yeah,
because the first show in the garden wasn't until maybe 5 or 6 years ago.
But because it was in New Jersey.
Yeah,
but New York wasn't. They didn't allow it.
We were one of the last states to get legalized.
We were, yeah.
So I remember when we did get legalized, I assumed that there'd be an MMA gym on every other block, just like Muay Thai and jiu-jitsu. But for some reason, even Sean and I have tried to implement these MMA programs at the gym, but we find that, I've dibbled and dabbled a little bit in MMA. It's one of the hardest things you can do to put boxing, wrestling, Muay Thai, jiu-jitsu, strength and conditioning, nutrition, like to put it all together and compete. I think most people aren't built for it. Maybe it's, in your opinion, how do we get more people to participate in MMA? Like, do you need a specific base first and then train MMA, or do the young kids just go in there and say, hey, I want to do MMA?
I think it's a complicated question with some simplicity to it. The simplicity for me is, you're asking people, it's like you could look at it as the triathlon of martial arts competition, right? You could be like, you got to be good on the ground, good on the feet, good on the stand-up wrestling, fence wrestling. So if you look at judo or sambo, that's an Olympic sport. If you look at boxing, and what should be really Muay Thai, they're Olympic sports to me. I know boxing is, but so could Muay Thai be. So could jiu-jitsu be, right? And so and wrestling is. So you're looking at disciplines that basically engage the highest level athletes in the world for their entire career in and of itself. And then you go, do all 3 of those and be good at it. Or be competent at all 3 of those. And by the way, someone's trying to kick you in the head and punch your teeth out. And also, if you go down on the floor, it doesn't stop.
Exactly.
And so like, and be competent. That's really fucking difficult.
Yes.
Because if you want to be a world-class jiu-jitsu player, that's what you're going to have to do for all of your life. And if you want to be really good at Thai boxing, you can't be getting distracted. So if you go, well, I want you to do MMA, we're still in the like embryonic stage of this game. It's only 25 years old or so officially.
Right.
Especially when the rules are applied and like the sense of, you know, distance, the journey we've covered. And we're only seeing the beginning of it, I think. And so it's difficult to get people to do that. You know what I mean?
But to what kid was saying about the gym, like, you know, you can, Muay Thai, you can just put a general class and anyone can do the class. But in the MMA aspect, like not anyone can go. There is no class offered for like a MMA, you know what I mean? And if there was, what kind of, you know, stuff would you have in the class, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas Muay Thai, you can generally kind of do everything. Like you're saying, there's no real MMA class, or we've tried to do it, but it just never seems to take off.
Yeah, I think that it's a great question.
Yeah.
It's a difficult one. My sense of it is, you asked about a base.
Yeah.
So statistically, you know, this could be different now, but statistically, the most successful base was wrestling. So more champions with a wrestling pedigree have been crowned, as far as I know, in the UFC than any other athlete. But then that could be 51%.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's probably a little more. But there's no way that I believe that you have to have a wrestling base to be a successful MMA fighter, and nor does anybody else. Same with Muay Thai or anything. The problem is, you don't know anything, you're not good at anything. Now learn it all in one class. That's a problem.
Okay.
So the way you could structure it, I don't do it like this, but the way you could structure it is to make a school, if it is about just MMA, you could have different classes for different bases. And then you can have a class that incorporates all of them.
Right.
Because when people come to Renzo's and they're like, what do I need to do to be able to come to your class? Well, I can't teach you how to punch and kick. I can't show you basic wrestling. And I can't teach you jiu-jitsu. Because all those things can't be taking up the time and the space of the class that I teach. The class that I teach is for people who are already capable of doing the basics.
Right.
So to find a person that's willing to do Muay Thai and throw up in the bag is, you're reducing the population. Exactly. A lot of people don't want to do that. So find someone who wants to do jiu-jitsu and have some sweaty dude lie on top of you and roll around. And then, to be perfectly honest with you, and anyone who does jiu-jitsu will tell you this with a half smile on their face, if you want to be generally happy and satisfied in life with martial arts, you can't do jiu-jitsu, because it's one of the most frustrating, upsetting martial arts that there is.
Agreed.
And it also is one of the most rewarding and, in my opinion, most important martial arts there is. But it comes at a price of constant humility. You're being constantly humbled, and you're constantly questioning yourself, because one day you'll go and you'll be like, yeah. And me also, as a person who's in their black belt, and you'll be like, no. Like I'm 52 now. I'll go in there and some purple belt will come up to me and I'll go, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Right? Because they'll murder you. They will murder you.
Exactly.
So you're like, oh God. So there's a weight there with your belt. And then also, to be honest, like, people are getting really fucking good. This is how it should be, by the way. Getting really good a lot quicker.
Exactly.
Because we're getting better at teaching. Right. And there's more information available. So that is a hard thing.
That's almost another question too. Like, you know, the teacher and the student. Do you want the student to be better than the teacher, or does the teacher always want to hold the student back so that he's never better than the teacher? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And what would you? For me, I'd prefer they get better than me, to be honest. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, it's disingenuous to say that it doesn't bother you, because if it didn't bother you, you wouldn't be any good at what you did. You'd always want to have a sense of like superiority over people so that you can teach them, right? But then the problem becomes, if it was about knowledge, then the oldest people would be the best in the world, but they're not. So it's not about what you know, it's about what you can do. So like at 52, I can't do what I could do at 30.
Right.
So like I've got a lot more knowledge than some of those guys in the room, and that's why they come to me, so I can help orchestrate some sense of skill development. And I've created a room and a culture where it's safe enough and stable enough for them to do that. Right. But if I have to spar with those guys, I'll get the shit kicked out of me.
Yes.
But
Yeah,
like,
I came out there one day and had a few rounds with them.
yeah, it's ridiculous to try to be.
Yeah.
It's like a friend of mine years ago. My karate teacher had a infamous teacher called Gary Spears. Gary Spears was this old Maori guy, and he was a big fella, and he'd been in Japan and done all the traditional stuff in the 60s and the 70s. He came to Liverpool and he was a bouncer, and he had this super notorious reputation of a hard man and all the rest of it. And even he would say, like, there comes a time when you've got to be the general, and you've got to stop trying to be the sergeant in the middle of it all, because you haven't got it anymore. It's not the same.
Right.
And like, people have a hard time letting go of that. A lot
Gotcha.
of letting go of their ego, or if they're not the center of attention in some way.
Exactly.
And I've definitely met instructors or fellow coaches who are like that, and I understand it to a degree.
Right.
But ultimately, the highest level of teaching for me is you want your students to elevate themselves beyond you,
Definitely.
because otherwise, aren't you wasting your time? Because if
Exactly.
they're not as good as you, or not better than you, or they're not being pushed to being better, what's the point in carrying on?
Yeah.
Because it's getting worse. Because there's no stasis. You're either growing or you're dying. You can't stay the same in this game. You've got to be getting better.
Yeah.
And that's the way I feel like the best teachers I've had have taught me.
Amazing. Amazing. And talk about teaching. Are you available for private sessions, or are you still teaching MMA at Renzo Gracie's? Where can the viewers find you if they need a wealth of MMA knowledge, or they want to further pursue their MMA training with you?
Yeah, I'm there at Henzo's 5-6 days a week.
Okay.
It's easy just to call the academy.
Perfect.
It's HenzoGracie.com, the number's there.
Yeah.
And there's MMA classes every day. It's not on the schedule,
Yeah.
because it's not an official class.
Of course.
It's not really a profitable margin for people to be like, let's have 18 of these classes a week.
Of course.
It's
Yes.
a little bit more, like we said, for competitors,
Yes.
or people who are at least very serious about it. But, if people want to come down and they have a base and they're capable, they're always welcome to come and try the class.
Awesome. And we'll put your information about the academy in the link. But yeah, it's been amazing to have you here, dropping your knowledge and sharing with us experiences. I'd love to hear more about your bouncer days one day. And I think it's just amazing how far the sport has come, and to hear your story about it.
Yeah, thanks. It's been a privilege to be involved in it.
Yeah, great. Awesome. Thank you for Jamie.
Cheers,
Yeah.
thanks, mate. Thanks, guys. Thank you.